I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we are going to be talking about this crazy media propaganda. It's not just media propaganda, but the stuff that media reported and Harris is saying. And there was something, I don't think it broke yesterday. I didn't see it until later that day, I think, about the comments about Trump and the women situation. But there was another thing that happened, and people are saying that Donald Trump called for Liz Cheney's execution, and it's totally not true. And but the media went along with it, like mainstream media in their reporting, and it's just completely insane. Even people who went along with it and pushed it and so-called apologized, like Jonah Goldberg, still gave a trash apology. So My title today is, if Trump is so bad, why does Kamala Harris need to lie? Why does she keep lying? If there's so many things to say about Trump, about how terrible he is and how bad he's going to be for the country, why continuously lie? And I've said this over and over again to all of you many times, that this concerns me. This is one of the things that concerned me the most when he was running against Hillary Clinton. And there were lots of reasons to not like Hillary Clinton, but we didn't know how Trump was going to be when he governed. So there was concerns there, you just didn't know. I mean, I watched him on Apprentice, have his, a few of his books or whatever, you can kind of gauge, but you don't know how someone's going to be until they're in the Oval Office. And it was still worth the risk, because how the media was acting with Hillary Clinton and covering for her and uplifting her and condemning him, it concerned me how one-sided they were. And this is even worse. This is even worse. So I'm going to make my case for, once again, about why Kamala Harris winning would be the worst thing for America, and how the media has totally betrayed themselves, the trust that they're supposed to have, or the trust that the public gives them, though they're, people don't trust them too much nowadays, but enough people do. And people believe what they want to believe. If they already don't like them, they'll get wrapped up in their TDS and believe these crazy things and not look for the full context. And there's even people who have been made aware of the full context, and they still are pushing the lie because it feels good to them. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Before I'm jumping ahead of myself. And let me say, before I get into that news and start showing you clips and all that stuff, if you like what I do here, please consider, going to blacktnews.com, check out different articles and videos that's on my website, and please share some of that stuff. They're really doubling down on like the Central Park stuff. So I made a TikTok about that. I just shared that on YouTube the other day, and TikTok, it got about 60,000 views, on it, just reading the article that Trump actually put in the newspapers. So I wrote an article that just literally has his words in there and some context about that time, so people understand what's going on, because they're really using that to prove that he's some kind of racist, and that's just not the case. And there's other articles you guys can check out. I'm going to try to, whip out some more writings before the election, but you can imagine everybody's really busy right now doing all kinds of different things. I'm trying to do my part. I see you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for being here while I'm live, and thank you to those who watch back later. I appreciate you guys commenting and liking, and that boosts and that helps draw eyes and stuff. So thank you guys so much. If you would like to support, you guys can do it on YouTube by super chats. I do read them unless they're like really weird or gross or something. But on Facebook, you guys can send stars. But on my website, you guys can support just going directly to the donate page. It does cost a stream, run my website, all that stuff. And there's some needs that I do have, like equipment wise and stuff. So you guys can go the extra mile. Appreciate it. I know some of you do what you can. And again, I appreciate it. I can't more than I've said, more than you guys can know. But thank you so much. On Sunday, I will be in Ann Arbor for K Book Fest, and I'll be there from 10 to 12. So if you're in the Ann Arbor area, which is like a big liberal city, I will be there. I'll be selling my fiction books there. I don't have actually any of my abortion ones in stock really, but not the second edition anyway. So if you want to get a signed book, I'll be signing books. And then on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be at Motor City Comic Con in Novi. Should be a lot of fun. I'll be in Artist Alley next to my sister. My youngest sister did some crazy text portraits the other day. I don't know if she's probably not in the chat right now, but oh my gosh, she did a TikTok with them. Maybe I can find a TikTok real quick, but I'll save that to the end. I'll save it to the end. But she does these little teeny little teeny tiny paintings. She makes text portraits too, but people love her little teeny paintings. And then she sells them with little easels. And since it was like Halloween or whatever, she did a Slimer. She did a Chucky, not Chucky from like Rugrats, but Chucky the murderous doll. She did a Beetlejuice. I'm like, how did you do all this stuff on that little teeny canvas? And I left a comment in her video. I said, this is criminal. It's gone too far. This is too good, Tina. So I'm sure she'll sell those really quickly at Comic-Con. But I'm just like, how do you do all that? It's so crazy. Anyway, you'll just have to wait in suspense. I will find it later, I promise you. But check out different merch that we have at my website. Also, if you want to learn about more of my books, if you go to the merchandise page, there's a banner will take you to my book website. But there is a link in the description of this episode, and it should be in the description. There's a bunch of different links, and one of them should be like my Amazon page, and then you guys can check out and see my books from there. So anyway, announcements over. Let's get to the good stuff. So I'm really concerned about the media. Now, from when I'm talking to people involved in the campaign or different campaigns, they're pretty confident to the point where some of them are still antsy, like don't get your hopes up, but they feel confident. There's internal polling from different other campaigns and so on that it looks good in the swing states. There was a report that someone claimed last night, I think on CNN, that the Trump campaign was secretly scared. That is not true. They're perhaps they're a little too confident, if anything, but they're absolutely not scared. They think their numbers are good. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible for Kamala to win. So, I know some people are gearing up the steal is in. It is very possible that he loses on Tuesday. It's very possible. A lot of the polling that we're seeing with it really, really tight. Nate Silver pointed out, which other people had been suspecting, that people having like +1, like 49, whatever, having them super, super close. It's everyone kind of hedging their bets and not wanting to look too wrong. But polling it's not going to look like that for like every poll that you keep like putting out. So he said he thinks some of them are kind of political hacks right now. He says he doesn't even really trust a lot of the polls right now, and you're not going to learn a lot in these next few days. So just go out and vote. Don't let words from people discourage you, and just be really motivated and try to convince someone to go and vote. I'm going to call up somebody that I've had a lot of conversations with who decided that they were going to not vote for Trump, and just tell them some of my concerns and feelings, and see if I can convince them to not sit this out or vote third party like they were thinking of. Because I just the way that the media acts with Kamala Harris is just so infuriating, and it's not just something to be angry about. I think it is something to really be concerned about. Like afraid. I don't like to be afraid, but it's not good. The state of our nation is not good. How they can just lie over and over and over again about all this stuff. It's not healthy for the American people moving forward. It's not. So there was a story that's everywhere right now. And the story is that Donald Trump called for the execution of Liz Cheney. Now, I'm going to tell you something before I play the clip. I'm assuming you guys have probably maybe even seen it by now. In 2000, well, I'll explain what it was first. He was talking to Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about Liz Cheney, basically calling her a war hawk and saying that, you know, the idea was you guys send these people to do all these wars, fighting all these wars. If you feel that, like, what would you do if you were like standing there and they're going to shoot you? Kind of like, would you get in front of are you brave enough to do the thing that you are sending other men to do? Basically, is the attitude and the statements he was kind of making with Tucker Carlson. And by the way, it's nothing that liberals haven't been saying about Dick Cheney and his kids and folks for years. This isn't even like a new concept. They just decided to take this, pounce on Trump and skew it so they could have some kind of crazy headline to make him seem like some kind of evil dictator in the last final days approaching, after they've called him fascist, after they've compared his rally to Nazis and all this other kind of stuff. I saw someone today say, I used to think Trump should be more disciplined with his tongue, but after this, I don't know if it would matter. I don't know if it would matter. Now, there's plenty of things that Trump says that are like, or has done or said that was pretty crazy. But, you know, they don't even focus on like things that I ranted about that made me so furious. Like in the primary season or prior to that made me so upset. They don't even focus on that. They focus on these things that aren't even real, aren't even true. The Project 2025 nonsense and these made up stories or very fine people hoax. That they care more about these hoaxes than anything real. So this man isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but if you have to focus on all of these lies, then he can't be as bad as you make him out to be. Because I don't have to tell a lie about Kamala Harris to talk about all the evil things that she's done, all the evil things she pledged to do, and all the things that she's most likely to try to do as president. I don't have to lie about that. I don't have to exaggerate. I don't have to use any hyperbole for any kind of dramatic effect to get the point across. I can just tell you what she's voted on. I can just play for you her words. That's all I have to do. It's not an exaggeration to say she wanted to ban fracking on day one, that she wanted to stop deportations, that she thought the wall was a vanity project, that she doesn't think that you have a right to bear arms for private use. Those aren't exaggerations, and those are things that are really bad. Really, really bad. It's not an exaggeration to say she's a bigot, a religious bigot. I mentioned that yesterday. Thank you to Tulsi Gabbard. She mentioned that like on a college campus, talking to some students when she was with Charlie Kirk. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me look this up, because when she was a senator, I don't know why it didn't occur to me that this was probably the case, because Cory Booker and a bunch of different, or Bernie Sanders, they were doing basically religious tests for different Trump nominees, and she was asking all these questions about these nominees that were had connections to this Catholic organization and wanted to know if their views were the same as these religious groups. Because, deep down, she wants to stop them from having any kind of influence when it comes to the subject of abortion. But now she'll go on the campaign trail and say, you don't have to compromise your beliefs. Well, you don't really believe that because you're afraid of people who actually stick to their convictions. Anyway, I don't have to lie about anything when I talk about this woman, but they lie about Trump all day long. They lie about Trump all day long. But I wanted to say this before I start playing the videos. In 2016, so Trump is saying, hey, you're big and bad enough to send all these people to war. Why don't you try it yourself? Where's your skin in the game? That's basically what he's saying. And they turn that into Trump calls for the execution of Liz Cheney. That's how they bent it all out of place. Okay. That's what they did. It reminds me back in 2016. It reminds me back in 2016, if you guys can recall, or if you were paying attention back then, that seems like forever ago to a lot of people. But back in 2016, Trump was talking about Hillary Clinton and her anti-firearm stances. And he made a remark about how she always has armed security because she has the Secret Service. So he said something along the lines of, hey, if you don't like guns, why don't you have the Secret Service, not carry any? And then the media, I kid you not, started reporting that he wanted Hillary Clinton to be killed, that he wanted her to die, because he was saying, like, hey, get rid of your guns, which just really proves the point of guns are good for defense. And people should have a right to access them. Hillary Clinton spoke a lot about how she didn't like the ruling on DC versus Heller because these progressives were trying to say that we don't have a right to own firearms, and they're only like it only guarantees it for like militia use. And Kamala Harris actually signed on to the amicus brief with that opinion. But thank God for Scalia. I think was the one who wrote the majority opinion on that. And they're like, yes, the people have a right to bear arms. Yes, they can bear arms. And Hillary Clinton hated that ruling. And she talked about it. And when I was on air with you guys earlier this week, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, she must have said something about it. There has to be something on it. And then, like, as soon as I got off air, somebody had somebody posted the amicus brief with her name on it and highlighted the stuff that it was. I'm like, oh my gosh, she was actually a part of this case that tried to take away our liberties. It's insane. It's insane. But this is what they do. And I know I already said this, so if you popped in here as soon as I went live, bear with me. But it concerns me. It concerned me back in 2016, seeing the relationship that the media had to Hillary Clinton, seeing how much they're willing to cover for Hillary Clinton, to see how many lies they would spin to destroy Donald Trump on behalf of Hillary Clinton. When I looked at the Podesta emails, and I certainly did, they were juicy, seeing them hanging out with Podestas, cooking dinner and all this, the pictures or whatever. And, there was seeing like emails that were sent to different news organizations telling them like, hey, I would like the headline to be named this. And then I look, I'm like, oh my gosh, they changed the headline to what they wanted it to say. And, it just concerned me how buddy they were. And there was not this sense that there would be accountability if she was the president. So if she did something wrong, something bad, would they really do their due diligence and cover it? And we've seen through this Biden administration and the relationship with the media, they were nonstop on Trump all day long. We're protecting democracy. Democracy dies in darkness. We got to write this, fact check this, blah, 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 all day long. And they took more of a back seat with Biden, even though he is one of the most prolific liars in politics. I'm not saying that they haven't fact checked Biden. I'm not saying that, but they didn't take their craft as seriously as they ought to have. And then they covered for Joe Biden and his mental decline. When it was, when he was on the debate stage after that, and everyone got to see his performance, and it started affecting, the outcome of the election, they decided to start reporting it, constantly ask questions about it. And then things were set up to, a coup, basically, have him pushed out, have Kamala installed into that position. And the rest is history. She's now running for president of the United States of America, and we're a few days out from the election. But before everyone got to see him on the debate stage, it was, oh, that those are cheap fakes. That's misinformation. And Kamala Harris covered, and she still covers to this day, because she doesn't want to say, yeah, I lied to everybody. Why would she fess up? Why would she fess up? So they covered something was really important. And if he wasn't well enough to continue running for president, or that's the perception of his party, that was the perception of the American people, why was he the president until the very end? I'm assuming because they made some kind of deal. They didn't want to push him out with the 25th Amendment, or maybe they wanted to, but to me, it would have made more sense if Kamala was the president going for the last, couple of months. So then she would be the incumbent. People would be used to the idea of the first female president, and then she'd have that title instead of risking it all to get that title. So I'm assuming they made some kind of deal, and that's why he's still in the office. But people are concerned, but the media covered it, right? It was when it was convenient to cover it nonstop to force him out. They're like, oh, there's all these questions about his health. But when there are Alzheimer's doctors or other, or maybe it was Parkinson's, all these doctors coming and stuff, and the White House wanted to cover whatever, the media just wasn't doing their due diligence. They just weren't. They weren't doing their due diligence about, Aurora, Colorado. And they're like, there's no gangs taking over apartment complexes. Now, there was, I think the building, the people who own not the building, I think that maybe it's the people who own a couple properties or whatever had an internal investigation. And they said that stuff was going on. But it came out like a week ago or two that they knew like a year ago that particular gang was setting up shop in Colorado. They've been known that they had an issue with that particular gang. So people having all these concerns, and they're like, oh, you guys are overreacting, when elected officials knew that there was an issue since 2023, at least. And they're all messaging each other. But they just want everybody else to look crazy. Okay. The media hasn't been responsible. There was a story happened, I think about a week ago, if not two. There was a Jewish man, going into a synagogue, and a man, African immigrant, illegal alien, by the way, started shouting Allah Akbar and attacked him, tried to kill him. And he actually illegally crossed over the border and then was released into the interior of the country. And then when one of the Chicago papers wrote about it, because he was confronted by the police, they kind of tried to frame it as if, just about like the police shooting somebody. And I'm not saying they're trying to make another like BLM, Black Lives Matter kind of situation, but it's like, it's kind of relevant that he shot a Jewish man and shouted Allah Akbar and all that stuff. It's terrorism, hate crimes, all that good stuff that they love to report on if they think it's a white nationalist who might have owned a Trump hat. The media is not responsible. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. So anyway, look at some of these headlines. Let's look at some of these. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Oh, I don't know if that made it bigger or smaller. Did that make it bigger or smaller for you guys? Okay, it looks kind of blurry. Okay, Trump suggests war hawk Liz Cheney should have guns trained, on her face. Trump says war hawk. That was Washington Post. CNN. Trump says war hawk Liz Cheney should be fired upon escalation of violent rhetoric against his opponents. Trump attacks Liz Cheney using violent war imagery. Trump suggests Liz Cheney should have guns trained on her face. Uh, Trump on Liz Cheney. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with a 9-barrel shooting at her. Trump using violent language attacks war hawk Liz Cheney. So that's what they're going with. CNN had like a really heated, crazy panel and stuff about it. And let's actually just, see what he said.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person, and I don't blame him for sticking.
Now, the context of that is clear. Not like, hey, let's get a firing squad and shoot up Liz Cheney. Does he even like think of her that much to have that much hatred in his heart to say something like that violent against her? He probably doesn't think that much even about her. His point is that if you're going to send people to die, would you yourself be ready to stand in front of the fire, the bullets yourself? What would you be willing to risk? Because you're putting other people's lives at risk here. Trump doesn't like sending people to war. He doesn't. If he has to do something, here's some big bombs, boom, 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 we're out, successful, so on. But he doesn't want a bunch of war to happen. He was against, the wars that he spoke like Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff. He spoke out against that stuff a lot. And, for years, he had those opinions. So I don't think all this neocon Republicans get together, we don't like Trump, let's back Kamala Harris. I don't think that's all about people don't like his behavior, people don't like his rhetoric, people don't like January 6th. And I'm not saying that those aren't things to legitimately be upset about, but when you weigh the things that he did versus, Kamala Harris is extraordinarily radical and wants to transform the country in a way that if she is successful, that it would start to erode it, perhaps beyond repair. You think Dick Cheney is like, oh yeah, I really want the trans women in the bathrooms. Oh yeah, we really need to fight to make sure that dude can play on the women's sports. Yeah, we want to strip public funding from schools if they don't comply with this transgender nonsense. We want to make sure that Catholic hospitals have to do abortions, or that Christian business owners have to pay for them with their insurance. Oh yeah, that's so what I want. That's not what Dick Cheney wants. And maybe I can understand him not liking Trump for a plethora of personal reasons. Of course, his daughter and, Trump haven't gotten along as of late. But Kamala Harris has asked if Liz Cheney was going to be in her cabinet, and she said, I'll keep you posted. She didn't say no. She said she was going to put a Republican, in her administration. I don't think Liz Cheney is doing that for nothing, guys. If I was Donald Trump and Kamala Harris started bragging about Dick Cheney supporting her and Liz Cheney supporting her at the debate stage, I would have been like, yeah, the only thing that you guys have in common is that you want war, that you like war. It's not the other stuff. You're the most radical person that's ever run for president. Why would Dick Cheney support that? What you guys have in common is war, and I don't want war. I want peace. And that's why Dick Cheney would never support me. I wish he would have said something like that. I wish he would have said something like that, but he didn't. He didn't. But that's what they're pushing. And that's not even the only crazy thing. But before I show you the other crazy thing, to push on this note that I just mentioned, the mayor of Hamtramck, Amar Galib, he endorsed Trump some time ago. And so he put out a video, and I want to play it. Trump is in Dearborn, or was in Dearborn. I don't know if he's still in Dearborn right now, but he was around. Dearborn is a very Muslim populated city in Michigan, and a bunch of Muslims were, supporting Trump. They're saying, we want peace. He wants peace. And so this is the message from the mayor of Hamtramck.
Hello, everyone. I just want to talk about a couple of points. The top military advisor of Kamala Harris is Liz Cheney, the bloodthirsty person who advocates for more wars in the Middle East. And they would want to send our sons, and we have so many people in the military from our community, from the Arab American community. They would want to send them to fight their own people in the Middle East. President Trump keeps attacking the pro-war radicals, those war hawks, who are the top military advisor of Kamala Harris. And they want to create more wars in the Middle East. President Trump appreciated and respected our community like it never happened before. We have a line of communication with the White House if President Trump wins, and this has never happened before. So let's not miss out this opportunity and vote for President Trump, not for the war hawks, the bloodthirsty people that would take credits if Kamala Harris wins this election. So please, my message to the Arab American people, vote for Trump and don't miss this opportunity, because we will advocate for peace using our line of communication with President Trump. Thank you.
So I think that's absolutely a big reason why, there's a big uncommitted vote. Now, I don't know last minute if they're going to be like, now we're not voting for, these people because I think they're funding a genocide. I don't know if those people are going to vote for her or Jill Stein or whatever. You don't know it's election day, but hopefully the support in the Muslim community is real, because there's a lot of Muslims in different areas of Detroit, like of course Hamtramck and Dearborn and stuff. So and hopefully it's all just because Trump is promising, like, I don't want to do new wars in the Middle East or anything like that. I want there to be peace. I want the bloodshed to stop. That's all that I want. And I want, I was doing the Abraham Accords, and, the Jewish people and the, other people in the Middle East were coming together for economic reasons. And you don't need to have these ideological wars anymore. That's not what I want. So, I think that's a big factor, but I'm also remembering when Hamtramck, they decided, the whole city council is Muslim too, right? So they decided to issue an ordinance that the only flags you can fly are government flags on city property. If you want to hang out your own flag at your house, a pride flag or whatever, you can, but you can't hang a pride flag, at a city building or something like that. But you also couldn't do a Muslim flag or a Christian flag or, I don't know, a Bob the Builder flag or whatever flag. I don't know. But it's just got to be like the Michigan flag, the city flag, the POW flag, and I think two other ones that I'm escaping, but it's just certain kind of flags. You can't do whatever. And the gay community was so upset. There's all these people came to protest around Michigan, and there was these two women. I think it was two women who kissed each other in front of everybody in the room to show their rage. Like, we're gonna defy you. Let's make out in front of all these Muslims, and all they were saying is that we want a neutral policy. And then they're like, no, you can't treat us like the same as everyone else. You're treating us the same as everyone else because you don't like us, you know? It is really bizarre. And then Dana Nessel, who's the attorney general, who is married to a woman, you know, came to Camtramck and they had some kind of event. And she was making the case that you can't just treat everybody the same, you know, especially when it was like a minority group or something and they've had to go through different things. You can't just treat everybody the same. When you have neutral policies, you're being discriminatory actually, and you're suppressing someone. It was really bizarre. I have a video about it. You guys can search for it, but I wonder if it's more than just the we want peace thing, because there were people who were frustrated like during the midterms and other stuff, but you know, about books and creepy books in school or whatever. But this outrage with the left just continued to still bubble over, and I'm sure in Hamtramck they probably didn't forget about that. So I just wonder if they don't want trans women people in their bathrooms with their daughters, you know. I wonder if that's a thing. Okay. So it's just a suspicion that there could be more to the story, but obviously they want peace, and a lot of people want peace, and that's good. That's good. But another crazy thing that the media did, and I'm not sure which is worse. Well, I guess the Liz Cheney thing is probably worse. It's probably worse. I don't know. You guys can let me know. We can vote on it. Because I'm not sure which one is worse. I mean, with women and the hysteria around abortion stuff, I don't know. This could be worse. But people reading different headlines and the media going along with this stuff, with the Liz Cheney execution thing, and people being so deranged that they believe it, I don't know. I'm not sure. By the way, the jobs report, there's only 12,000 jobs added in the last month, and they also had to revise the job report as well. So crazy stuff going on. So let me show you guys Kamala Harris HQ. I was looking for that particular video, but I must have not like saved it or whatever. I'll try to find it though. Did a crazy video about this rally that Trump was at. But Kamala Harris herself has commented on this. So what if I told you that Kamala Harris was upset and offended that Donald Trump said that he was going to protect women from violent criminals, whether they liked it or not? That would be insane, right? It's true, though. It's true. But the reason why she said that is because they're trying to frame his whether they like it or not comment as if he was talking about abortion and bodily autonomy and all that stuff. That he's not specifically talking about keeping women safe from criminal, violent aliens who have crossed our border illegally. And there have been women who have been murdered and raped. And Kamala Harris knows that very well. You know, I'm sure she knew it anyway, but thank God for like Brett Baier showing, you know, video to her face of particular women who have died, being killed under her watch. So she knows that there's people in danger, and she dared to do this. She dared to do this. It's so disgusting. She's a bad person. You cannot like Trump, and there's things about him that are not great. And I've been very upset about various things. But Kamala Harris is a terrible human being. She is terrible to do this, to lie about this, anything to win and anything to slay children, anything.
We'll comment on the former President Donald Trump's remark about women and whether they like it or not. And listen, it actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies. And this is just the latest on a series of reveals by the former president of how he thinks about.
I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from foreign countries that want to hit us with missiles and lots of other things.
We'll comment on.
That's it. That's it. That's what it was. And Jake Tapper, you know, he kind of tried to defend Trump here a little bit. And then the panel was still like, well, it was still sexist for him to say that he was going to protect women, whether they like it or not. And that's fun. And that's probably sounds so stupid to you guys. But, you know, Donald Trump, his advice, he was telling a story about how his advisors are like, yeah, don't say that. You know, you can't say that. And he's like, what? That's like so stupid. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to protect them whether they like it or not. And lo and behold, they decided to go this route, and it's pretty disgusting. Oh, here we go. Here's the Kamala Harris HQ had posted this video, and someone and they added these headlines. And I'm pretty sure I did talk about this yesterday, but let me just go ahead and play this again.
They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. 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 I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions all over the world, from Venezuela to the Congo, including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women and girls. Anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office. And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. So why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So not only is Kamala lying about it, phrasing it like it's around like, oh, he's gonna, like, he's saying women don't have any agency and all this stuff, which is funny because they actually act as if women have no agency. You know, sometimes with like the abortion stuff, like, okay, well, how'd the baby get there, and how'd you get in this position, and why shouldn't you be expected to face the natural conclusions of your actions as someone who has autonomy and could make a decision? And so why do you get to destroy someone who's helpless because you don't like basically the consequences of your own actions? You know, we just want to infantilize women in that kind of way. So yeah, you have agency, and it's funny when you want to pick and choose when we should apply it, right? But, you know, when you are over the executive branch and, you know, you're concerned about, I don't know, nuclear wars and all kinds of attacks that could happen on the nation and terrorism and crime and all this stuff, when that's on your mind, you know, you don't think, gee whiz, maybe I should, maybe the women want to be attacked. Maybe I shouldn't close the border. Maybe I should ask them first. Is it misogynist to just make sure their children are safe? Is that sexist of me? Should I do something, or should we go call a bear? Maybe we should vote a bear for president instead. I wonder if the bear will close the border. Maybe they'll just go get some fish and hide in a cave and let the border be flooded. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But the media just went along with this. And the media went along with the Liz Cheney thing. And there's also a clip of Kamala talking about the Liz Cheney thing. It's just crazy how they get away with this stuff. It's just, as I said, I'm concerned, guys. Here we go.
And then, even worse, he has increased his violent rhetoric, Donald Trump has, about political opponents, and in great detail, suggested rifles should be trained on former Representative Liz Cheney. And then, even worse.
What a liar. What a liar. If Trump is so bad, why not just tell the truth? If Trump is so bad, why not just tell the truth? That's what kills me about this stuff. And here's Liz Cheney. This is how dictators destroy free nations. They threaten those who speak against them with death. We cannot entrust our country and our freedom to a petty, vindictive, cruel, unstable man who wants to be a tyrant. You're psychotic, lying scumbag. Someone else had retweeted. This is Matt Walsh's retweet. Said, "You are a lying scumbag. Trump didn't threaten you. He said you're a cowardly war hawk who happily sends young men off to die in battles he would never want to fight." He's absolutely right. And someone else had retweeted Liz Cheney. Will quote retweeted and it said, "You are not this dumb." Now, TDS is a very powerful condition, and it makes a lot of people not think straight. So maybe she used to not be that dumb. Who knows? Who knows? But I would wager she's probably smart enough to know what the context and the meaning of that conversation was. And that's just what she wanted to push. But it is really interesting, though, that Kamala Harris's like final push is just to like, oh, Liz Cheney, let's defend the honor of the Cheneys, who I'm probably going to have in my administration. It's just crazy. It's kind of like, Trump has transformed the Republican Party in so many ways, in some ways that is good, in some ways that I don't like. But, during the Bush age, it was the peace through strength, but which Trump still believes that, but he's kind of like, blow him up and get out. We don't need to restructure other people's countries for years and so on, and let's build on peace instead of cutting off all these heads or whatever. So he just has a different way of going about stuff. But we had continuous war for so long. It was a 20-year war and stuff. So now Kamala Harris is hanging out with those folks and talking about, we're going to have such a lethal military and all this stuff, and it's flipping some people out on the left. And no doubt she's appeasing some people on the right, because Trump has been talking trash about these folks for years. So maybe it's all really out of pettiness, out of someone who's been talking smiggity smack. And Trump has been talking smiggity smack. People have different opinions on foreign policy, but there's so many reasons to dislike Kamala Harris and to be concerned about the country. And how the media runs these stories and pushes these stories is really concerning because there's a lack of accountability for a Harris administration, you know. With Donald Trump, there's behaviors and things that he did that you cannot like. Arguably, I think most people might not like when you look at Trump, but there's no reality where Trump is above the law. That doesn't exist. You can say, well, January 6th, I was an insurrection. Well, he didn't incite the insurrection. He said they needed to march peacefully. You can argue that he should have done more quicker. You know, he did tell them to go home and stuff, but he should have acted, you know, sooner or different stuff, though he did want the National Guard there because he was like, that's going to be a lot of people. I personally don't think he should have the rally there at all or whatever, but he didn't. It was a riot, but he did not tell people to go there and do violence. That didn't happen. Okay, but you can still be upset about the decisions and different stuff he made that day, sure. But at the end of the day, he was making legal challenges with. They were novel legal theories, not totally without some kind of precedence, because there was a situation that with when Nixon was running and stuff, where the Democrats had alternate electors. I think it was in Hawaii. Now the situations aren't exactly identical, but there was a sliver of a window. But the way that he was pushing every kind of legal challenge possible to try to, you know, solidify what he was arguing was his actual victory, according to him. I recall in 2016, I talked the other day about how I had to be part of the recount, even though Trump won. It was a slim, you know, victory with like 10,000 votes in Michigan and other places or whatever, but he did win. And just my experience from doing recounts, I didn't expect that we would find even 10,000 votes to overturn the results of the election. It was just this big freaking waste of time. And Hillary Clinton and them still decided to go along with it. Yeah, Jill Stein was the one who officially, you know, did it. But, you know, I can promise you Jill Stein's people were all Hillary's people who showed up for that recount, okay? But there were all the electors, the people writing to the electors, celebrities begging the electors to change the result of the election. The electors are supposed to be, I mean, they're the party elects them, so they're usually like party activists or whatever. And people were begging, even threatening these folks and telling them to change the results of the election. Now, the electors have to cast the votes or whatever, and that's technically when, you know, it's determined who won or whatever. But they're supposed to you nominate a slate of electors who's going to cast the votes for the president. So they were doing everything they could to alter what the popular vote of the people of that state had dictated. And I was there that day in Michigan when we had people flood into the Capitol to try to get the results changed. They didn't come in there violently and like, you know, break down the door. I'm not saying anything like that, but they were in the building and they were chanting and they were, you know, yelling out stuff and saying fascist, KKK, blah, blah, blah. And there's more people who are minorities inside about to cast their votes for Trump who worked very hard for that result. And I found it to be really offensive. I can understand people being very upset about all the stuff that Trump did and the challenges and so on, because you feel that was a hard fought victory to get the result that you wanted. I respect you being upset about it, because I was upset that I had to go through all the stuff after the election when frankly I should have been on vacation. But I'm like, I worked very hard for this result, and you guys are crying and screaming and threatening my friends because you can't deal. So I don't like it. So, but anyway, Trump was inaugurated. Biden was inaugurated. Trump left the White House. He didn't activate the military to try to stage some kind of last minute coup. They keep saying that he's a fascist. I have a clip with Destiny. It was Destiny versus like 25 Republicans or whatever, and they got into an argument about what fascism was. And he mentions something about being an isolationist, and you know, Trump still works with his allies and stuff, though he doesn't want to start wars or whatever. But that doesn't mean that everybody is like pushed out of our allies. He just, wants people with NATO to pay up, pony up the dough that they're supposed to pay, and so on. He talked about how, he was an authoritarian, and did he not have every opportunity to be one during COVID, and he wasn't? He didn't institute martial law, which he could have done. He didn't do that when there was these violent protesters out in the streets. He didn't send, the military and stuff all throughout different places in the country. He said, you got to ask for help. You got to ask for help. And even when he had people pick people up who were doing crimes like on federal property, there were reports like Donald Trump is kidnapping people in unmarked vans. That was the kind of reporting that was going on. And Trump, he didn't make everybody shut down or try to force everybody to do a jab. That was a Biden administration. I mean, Trump did the 15 days, but there was stuff that was recommended with the states. Now, Trump was like vocal and, to Kemp and DeSantis and folks that he thought was opening up too fast. And I thought that was really annoying. But Trump is the one who still said, hey, executive order, your churches are essential. He's the one who did that. They were doing ads in 2020 against Donald Trump because he wanted schools to reopen. If you want to look at the metrics that like Destiny was talking about to say that Trump was a fascist, I'm like, how can you not apply this logic to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and how they decided to run things? Or think about the sorts of things, how she wants to change our country, or how she doesn't really value our Constitution or the what's in it, like how she just regards the Second Amendment. And doesn't think we're supposed to be able to bear arms for private use and stuff like that. So it's just a bunch of wild stuff, but they have such extreme TDS. And then Destiny, if I'm saying his name, I don't know if you all know who he is, but he's a very big streamer. He's a very big debater. He says the wildest stuff sometimes. He got into a lot of hot water because he, didn't care. Well, he was laughing and joking and basically said that the fireman who died at the Trump rally where Trump was nearly assassinated, that basically he got what he deserved. Like if you go to a Trump rally, like he said, if his own parents went to a Trump rally and were killed, it was kind of like, well, you basically got what was coming to you, So Destiny says some wild stuff and believe some wild stuff. But he had mentioned, that's the wrong clip. That's the he had said that Donald Trump wanted to be a dictator on day one. Now we all probably know the context of Trump saying he wanted to be a dictator on day one. He's like, oh, he's gonna be a dictator. He's like, no, I'm gonna be a dictator. He's like, well, he's like, only on day one. But he was talking about doing a bunch of executive orders to close the border and so on. So that's obviously a joke. He didn't literally mean he's going to be a dictator, but it's a joke. And Destiny is too smart to keep repeating, he said he's going to be a dictator on day one. Why are you so angry about a joke? Why are you so angry about a joke and using that as evidence that he's a fascist? And the media does it and Kamala Harris does it. And they just go along to push a narrative of Trump being so insanely terrible. It's insane. There's someone even investigating Donald Trump for his comment about Liz Cheney. Arizona's top prosecutor tells 12 News she is investigating whether Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump violated state law by making a death threat against former GOP rep Liz Cheney during remarks Thursday night at an event in Glendale. I have already asked my criminal division chief to start looking at that statement, analyzing it for whether it qualifies as a death threat under Arizona's laws, Attorney General Mays, a first-term Democrat, said during Friday's taping of Sunday Square Off. They're already putting in new investigations about Donald Trump and this comment that was clear. As I said, Donald Trump, there's some kind of accountability. They certified the election. Joe Biden became president. Trump left the White House. We know that. Donald Trump had investigation after investigation. Well, he was president too. And then afterwards, investigation after investigation, indictment after indictment. He was convicted for the stupidest thing, for a misdemeanor that should have even been timed out, but they had to connect it to some other kind of crime. And we're not exactly sure which one it is, but they're like, oh, Donald Trump should have used campaign funds to pay off a porn star because he wanted to run for president, and he clearly wanted to keep this a secret from the American people. That is so stupid. And that I'm not exaggerating. That is their reasoning for why Donald Trump needs to go to jail, to federal prison. And this man didn't want to go after Hillary Clinton. I was at a rally when people started saying lock her up after he had won. He's like, oh, no, he's like, that's one thing when we were running and we were having fun and whatever. He's like, but no. Because he thought it was good for the country to not prosecute your political opponents. He said that not just that she was a Secretary of State, she was a wife of a former president. He just thought it was a good thing to not go after her. He's talking about pardoning Hunter Biden. How come no one's asked Kamala Harris if she'll pardon Trump if he's convicted of anything? Or just pardon him now? No, she can't do it now, but if I was Joe Biden, I would have already offered to pardon him or whatever. I thought it would have been a good political move. A really big political power move. Because you can't say that they're trying to come after him or whatever. I mean, you can still say it, but if you're like, I'm going to pardon him, this is, for the good of the country, I'm going to pardon him. I just thought it would have been a great power move, and they didn't do it. Which I thought was crazy. Look at this. Jim Acosta. I can't stand Acosta. Trump, Liz Cheney should be shot with guns trained on her face. They ran these segments. Trump escalates violent rhetoric calling for Liz Cheney to be shot. Shame on Alyssa Slotkin here. That's unfortunately someone running for Senate right now in Michigan. That race is really close. Hopefully Mike Rogers pulls it out. From my understanding, she's still ahead though, but it's insane. Even I told you guys that there's 12,000 jobs added last month, and then they also had to revise other jobs too and deduct from jobs, so they inflated the numbers once again. So this was when Trump was president back in 2020. Final jobs report before Election Day shows just 661,000 positions were added last month. Oh boy. Smaller employers are having difficulty holding on, and we are now seeing the effect of the big company layoffs, said one economist. Oh gosh, because there was only 661,000 jobs. Okay. This is NBC News Now. The U.S. just added 12,000 jobs in October as a strike and hurricanes hit employment. Oh, temporary factors aside, the labor market continues to cool even as broader economy remains sturdy on the eve of Election Day. Oh gosh, kind of seems like, I don't know. It kind of seems like 661,000 is a lot more than 12,000. It just kind of seems like it. I don't know. Just kind of seems like that's biased. seems like it's biased, right? So, Jonah Goldberg was on CNN and believed the story about Liz Cheney. So his apology is so stupid. Some people are praising him, but it's really dumb still. He's like, I need to make a statement. This morning on CNN, I referred to Trump's rifles quote as him advocating a firing squad for Liz Cheney. I was reacting in haste to what were objectionably appalling and irresponsible comments that had been framed in the setup piece in the context of previous statements Trump made about shooting protesters and having generals executed. Still, I was wrong. Things I'm sure were taken out of context. So you can take another, they take something out of context and they take something else out of context to start building a story of how awful Trump is, so everyone can believe this super crazy thing that's also taken out of context. It's just a story, a major story arc of dishonesty. And he's on a network that keeps doing it. And his TDS makes him help him. Still, I was wrong to say that he was calling for a firing squad execution. After I said that, my co-panelist, Brad Todd, made the case that I was wrong, that Brad was right, and again, I was wrong. Trump was making, albeit in his customary fashion, a different argument about Cheney's alleged foreign policy views and the use of force. I let my disgust at Trump's comments get the better of me, as this was the first time I'd heard them. I let my disgust at Trump's comments get the better of me. It still sounds like it's his fault. Your imagination, that imaginary figure of Trump, still made you do it. Why not just say, I let my emotions get the best of me and I assumed something that wasn't true about Trump? Why not say something like that? In fact, at the end of the program, having thought about it, I said as much, though I could have been clearer. A fact that has been left out in a lot of the criticism of me since this morning. In other words, I voluntarily conceded the point, unprompted, before any of the subsequent criticism came my way. You can find it around the 220 mark of the video below. I regret in the initial comment because it was inaccurate and contributed to the kind of overheated environment that Trump thrives on. Maybe it's your fault and the fault of your coworkers of why there's overheated rhetoric. Many times Trump will say something and it's totally normal. And people don't care. People don't care. People have said the same thing about different people they view as neocons and warmongers for years. For years. And even people who are like, oh, well, Trump didn't mean that he wanted her killed, but what he still was still so horrible. Hogwash. Hogwash. We all understood the point. It's a valid point. It's a valid point. Frankly, it's a criticism that people would throw at him because he didn't serve. That's one of the reasons why people prefer people who have served to lead. Because you're going to send people to die, but you didn't put on the uniform yourself. People have questions. So at the very least, at least Trump is saying, I don't want to send someone to war. But his point is that Liz Cheney is willing to send other people's sons to die. And would she be so brave and ready to go if she was the one who had to make the sacrifice? That's the point. That's the point. And even Jonah said here, he's like, Trump's words were bad enough. Okay. I didn't think they were that bad. But it's worth noting that a lot of criticism about my inaccuracy is itself something inaccurate, or at least incomplete, given my correction. And then some people even like quote tweeted this and were like, this is how you do an apology. I don't think that was a good apology. I don't think it was a good apology. But there's this like gem of a comment that I liked. And They said, so you believe the firing squad story, like at face value? And if you're unaware why they said that, Jonah Goldberg said a similar comment to someone about the Hunter Biden laptop. And he said, what, you believe the laptop story at like face value? And of course the laptop story was real. So people occasionally say something and tease, Jonah about it. And so this was a great comment. This was a great comment. So if anyone needed the context of why I retweeted that, that's the backstory there. That's the backstory there. So the media is out, right? The media, no real accountability there. The Biden White House, the stenographers, they went against like the official record to clean up his comments about the garbage and adding the apostrophe or whatever. That wasn't what the stenographers originally wanted. And so they may have done something illegal there with the official records. There's all kinds of shenanigans that the Biden-Harris campaign have done with using people's personal information to send out different campaign information to try to garner votes. The Joe Biden stuff with Hunter, the whistleblower said that everybody knew who the big guy was. There's no question in their mind that it was Joe, and how you enrich people, you enrich their families. Obviously, no one is stupid, but they didn't want to go after him the way that they could have gone after him and Joe. There's just a real lack of accountability. While Trump will be convicted of something really, really stupid, there's no accountability. Donald Trump was impeached twice for no crimes. He didn't incite a riot. Incitement is very specific. He didn't meet. You can be upset about what happened. And I can understand the emotional, heightened emotions that different senators and folks had during that time, feeling that they needed to impeach him. But it really wasn't fair to Trump because it all happened so fast, and they did it really fast because they wanted to impeach him and perhaps so he would never be able to run again or whatever. I don't know, to have that mark on him prior to him leaving office. So they did it so quick, but it was before they could even really get enough information out there. So there's a lot of things that they alleged against Trump at that time that wasn't even true. But he didn't, actually do anything that rose to the level of actual incitement. And when the first time he was impeached, it was like a abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. It's just, he wouldn't do what we wanted, so we're going to impeach him. Screw your quote co-equal, branches of government. Just madness. So this man, the system will hold him accountable. The media will hold him accountable. They will make up stuff if they have to. But what's going to happen with Kamala Harris and the promises that she's making to completely remake our system, man? The court reform. And they want to reform the court because they don't like the rulings that the court has had, because they've gone against their left-wing ideology. But the rulings they're mad about is what? Treating everybody fairly, like with affirmative action, getting rid of that. They're mad that they can't force you to violate your conscience with 303 creative case. They're mad about that. They're mad that they couldn't force you to get the jab with the OSHA mandate rulings. What they're mad that they couldn't keep your church closed and couldn't keep restricting how many people could go in disproportionately compared to how they're letting other people go in different businesses. They're mad about that. They're mad about the presidential immunity thing. They weren't mad when Joe Biden didn't go to jail for droning kids. Of course, presidents have immunity when they act in their official capacity. Don't be stupid. You just wanted to nail Trump in the courts. Mad that Roe v. Wade was overturned. I get it. That was their biggie. That was the thing that they loved. It was still a poorly written law with bad logic that even Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't like, even though she supported abortion rights. So for that, they want to reform the court. For that, they want to impeach Clarence Thomas and find the dumbest reasons to do that and get rid of Alito. So she'll be able to replace them. Because if they don't show signs of where if she becomes president and they don't show signs that they're going to get out of there and leave, you can bet your bottom dollar that they will try to impeach them if they can't just pack the court altogether and add more seats so they can change the ideology of it and kiss your rights goodbye. This is a woman who tried to get rid of your Second Amendment rights. The Supreme Court had to say, yes, you have a right to own a firearm for private use. Literally had to say that. They stopped her. And people want to give her more power? It's insane. She's worse, guys. She's the threat. Where are the guardrails? Where are the guardrails when everybody's doing everything within their power, betraying their conscience, betraying truth, their trust with the American people? Everybody's doing whatever they can to make sure this man isn't president, and it's insane. It's insane. So if, I don't know, you happen to be on the fence, you don't have to vote for him. I'm telling you, you better at least vote against her. And if she's the one who's comes out on top after Tuesday, who knows? It could be Thursday before we get the results. I don't know. If she's the one who comes out on top, it is what it is. You still got to fight her tooth and nail. And Black Tea News will be here, spreading the truth and talking about things that the mainstream media won't want to talk about, trying to get around social media, trying to suppress and keep it quiet. I'll still be here. Hopefully you guys will still be listening. We can still talk to our neighbors and our friends and spread the word. Because these people, you guys remember what it was like when Obama was president? You guys remember? If you criticized Obama, it was because you're racist. And now it's going to be racist and sexist. If you criticize Kamala Harris. When all these people thought she was a joke a couple months ago. Couldn't do an interview. One of the first things she did in office, one of the first things she did as vice president was to look at different reports. And she didn't like the gendered language on there and wanted to issue reports to see if there was some kind of underlining sexism and racism. Everything is through that stupid lens of hers. I could have did more than 50 reasons. I didn't even talk about the equity stuff. I didn't even get a chance to talk about that in my little 50 reasons video. I could have a part 2. I don't think I have enough time for that, but I certainly could have had a part 2, 3, and 4. It was not easy to come up with 50 reasons. It was hard to decide which ones I was going to edit out, to be frank. And there's her and LeBron James pushing the Central Park 5 stuff. I've written articles about that. I did a video about that. I encourage you guys to share my stuff. Just keep sharing. But, not everybody's just online. Text stuff to people if you have to get them to see the truth about some situations. Or go knock on your neighbor's door, have a conversation, call up someone on the phone. But this isn't good. Just like it wasn't good when who's a kid who who's defending Kyle Rittenhouse. When Kyle Rittenhouse, when that trial was going on, the media reports on him, it was so insane. And so many people thought he had killed Black people. There was actually media reports that said that he had. And my dad was out of the country on missionary field when all that stuff was going on. And so I sent him an article that I wrote about it. And he called me back and he said, I thought he had killed a black person. And he said, he's like, man, what the media does, he's like, it's so scary. My dad doesn't scare easily. He said, it's so scary what the media does. And then I went over to my mom's house and I was talking about like, Dad and I were talking about this article I wrote, and he said he didn't know that he hadn't killed a black person. And my mom's like, I didn't know either till I heard y'all talking about it. It's incredible what they do. Jussie Smollett. This is evidence of what happens in Trump's America. What? That it's such an amazing country to live in that spoiled elitists have to make up hoaxes to condemn their political opponents. Just think about how many hoaxes that Kamala Harris pushed, man. Think about how many hoaxes she's been a part of. Anyway, the last thing I want to mention before I let you go, I'm sure you guys know about Mark Cuban. I don't think I mentioned it the other day. And he made the comment about Trump doesn't have, smart, strong women around, or doesn't like it. So, here's a little snippet.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. Donald Trump.
So people have been going nuts about that. And Bridget here, she said one of the things that I find repulsive about certain men on the left is the casual misogyny they ooze when women don't do what they want. That is absolutely true, man. I with my whole soul, I agree with that comment. And what's funny about him saying that comment though is that he was talking to women on The View, and I'm sorry, Whoopi and Joy, they just don't give off intelligent commentary most of the time. Sunny, she may be a lawyer, but oh my gosh, I don't know what's up in the brain. And she is a crazy race baiter too. Sunny might be the worst. But what's also funny is that one of the ladies on the panel, the lone Republican or whatever, I think she's a lone Republican, she actually worked in the Trump administration. So what are you saying? She literally worked in the Trump administration. She doesn't like him now, but she was there. So are you saying that she wasn't smart and she was weak? Very interesting. But Mark did respond to everybody to try to clarify what he said. And he said, no, I was just making the point that he doesn't like people who would challenge him around him. And that's why, you get somebody like, because someone like Nikki Haley could challenge him on women's reproductive rights and all the other kind of stuff. And the comments he made about that in his rant about trying to justify himself really revealed how stupid he is and how politically illiterate he is too. And it's funny because he's doing all this campaign surrogacy stuff, and I'm like, how do you not know? How can you be so unplugged that you don't know that Nikki Haley is way more pro-life than Donald Trump, especially right now? She's not pro-choice. Like, what the heck? Donald Trump is. What would Nikki Haley and other pro-lifers are upset about how far to the left he's gone on that issue? So what do you even need? You don't know anything. You just assume because Nikki Haley is a woman that they would disagree there, and you're trying to push the narrative that Donald Trump will get rid of abortion. That's just hasn't been the case for this entire campaign, and basically his rhetoric for the past 2 years. But you're just so clueless, Mark. You're just so clueless. Okay, guys. So we're into an hour and a half, so I am going to call it a day. But let me see if I can find my sister's her art that she did the other day, because I said that I would. But thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com to check out different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, you guys can leave a donation on the website, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that good stuff. So you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can also, if you're watching back later, you can still do like stickers and other stuff like that. So if you guys want to support that way, if you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. But the best way to support is to go to the website. You guys also can check out different merch that we have at the website as well. And on the website, you guys can find a link that'll take you to my book website. Just a reminder, on Sunday, this is the last Friday before the election. Oh my gosh, it is Friday, right? It is Friday, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's Friday. We're so close. We're so close. But this Sunday I will be in Ann Arbor for K Book Fest, and I will be signing books from 10 to 12. So if you're in the Michigan, Ann Arbor area, whatever, you guys can come and get a signed book and hang out or whatever. But I will only be there from 10 to 12. And then I'm packing up and going to church. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so 8th, 9th, and 10th, I will be at Motor City Comic Con, and I will be in Artist Alley, and I will be selling books there as well. And my sister is going to have stuff there too. She's the one who did this cover for Of Course God Is Blatantly Against Abortion. And let me pull up the actual ad here. So she's the one who did the artwork for The Hand of God Reaching Out to the Baby. So she did such a wonderful job there. And she's a really talented artist. But one thing that she does that people really, really like is that she makes these little teeny tiny portraits. So yeah, okay, I found them. I just want to brag on my sister sometimes, so bear with me. I do appreciate you guys who go on and follow her stuff and will watch sometimes her content, because she does go live on Twitch, and she also goes live on YouTube, and I've seen some of you guys in there, so that means the world to me. It really does. So here we go. This is my
from Ghostbusters.
This is a stitch.
Chucky from Child's Play.
Her original video. Here we go.
Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Oh no, let's see. Here we go.
Today at a live stream, and this is what I painted.
Slimer from Ghostbusters. Chucky from Child's Play. And Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Well, Beetlejuice.
Let me know which one was your favorite. Today at a live stream, and
someone
this is
said Link.
Slimer from Ghostbusters. Chucky.
Okay. Let me Tina is not in the chat. Let me give me 1 second, and I will put a link in the chat. It's tinastextportraits.com is her website. I doubt she probably put those up that fast. She also does commissions too. So if you guys are interested, she does like commission text portraits, and she also does let me go to her site. Or share my screen so you guys can see her site. So her website's tinastextportraits.com. So one thing that she does is she makes these text portraits, and I mean, guess some of you might be aware of that, because she did this one of Donald Trump, and that got pretty viral. So it just says Trump over and over and over again. That's how she made it. And she does custom work for people, but she's got one of Jesus, and what she used to write it out was the scripture John 3:16. She was able to write it out all the way at least once. And she's got Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln. The Reagan one's really good. She got Obama. It's funny when she goes to different places, if she's like in a left-wing area, like the liberal white woman will be so upset and would scoff or whatever at the Trump stuff. But right-wing people, they don't get all rude about the Obama stuff. It just kind of is what it is. They understand capitalism, all that stuff. She is a Republican though, but but who goes to somebody's artwork, it's like, ugh, and like they'll flip her book over, and just really rude. She's really rude. And let me see her paintings. So she has a lot of teeny tiny paintings. She will sell a ton of these over next weekend. So if you see something on her site that you like, I recommend that you pick it up because it will be probably gone after. She sells a lot of these at Motor City Comic Con. So she has different holiday collection ones here, Easter Baggett. They're just little teeny tiny ones. She does a lot of scenes, and people really like some of her animals. And it doesn't look like she put the Chucky ones and the other ones up yet. She just painted them yesterday, but I'll mention that I mentioned it, and I'm sure she'll put on her site. So if you look back probably tonight or tomorrow, it'll probably be there. But she just does really good work. And this is just on a little teeny canvas, and then she sells a little teeny easel. So it comes with a little easel. So a lot of times people will, there's one woman who goes to her like every convention, and she just uses them while she like will update her house, you know, with different scenery, with different color schemes. People, you know, will get them as gifts for different people, and they'll put them on their desk. So they're cute little, you know, just things to have in different places, you know. So yeah, that's neat. One friend of ours, he's a judge. He saw her last. He goes to Comic-Con like every year, usually as Doctor Strange, but he wasn't. I don't know. I don't think he was in his. Maybe he was in his costume when we saw him at the time, but he had her do a commission of him holding his, you know, gavel and stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the detail you can do on these little teeny canvases is just outrageous. So and she just did it while she was sitting there at convention. So my sister is also working on a children's book for me right now, and I think we're not going to be able to have it finished. Well, it's not finished right now, so it will not be at Motor City Comic Con, but we'll have like some concept art there so people can look at it. And so I will be so thrilled when we'll be able to, you know, put it out for you guys to pick up and purchase and stuff. So it's a really, really cute story. I wrote it because I was like inspired by my nephew, because he would just go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I just got this great idea for a story. So I'm very excited about it. And then when we finish that one, I'll put her to work on another. I'll put her to work on another one. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. We are so quickly approaching final election day. I don't know if I'm going to do a normal show on election day. It looks like I'm actually going to have to vote on election day. And I will probably try to knock that out early, but so I know I'm going to go to like a party or something. So I don't know if I'm going to set up and do something special that night or whatever, but I'll think about it this weekend and I'll let you guys know. And just, you know, a few days left. It's almost over. I might also go to, I haven't really been to a rally this, well, I don't know. Maybe one. I haven't been lately. I'm entertaining maybe going to the last rally that Trump's going to have is going to be in Grand Rapids, which is a drive for me, because I'm on the other side of the state. But I might pop in over there. But I'm definitely going to a victory party on election night, and hopefully no one is crying. I won't cry one way or another. Like, I'm not about to go on social media and weep and be put in some kind of compilation video. You know, I don't understand, you know, people who go and freak out like that, especially how much I've watched people freak out to Trump winning in 2016 so many times. Like, the videos are therapeutic in a way. So I'm not going to be one of those people, you know, ever. So, you know, I'll be upset just in the sense that, I mean, a lot of issues with Trump were known prior to people picking him to be the nominee this time around. So if there are things that sink him that are like his personal drama or whatever, that it's a decision that the Republicans made going in, you know. But Kamala Harris has just lied, and the media has lied so much. It's one of the most egregious campaigns, especially in modern history, but I'm not going to say ever, but it's, like I said, it's concerning. And I just would hate for her behavior to be rewarded. So I definitely want her to lose. So we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for viewing and being here with me during my very long closing. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on Monday. See what other shenanigans have popped off, and to let you guys know how things were in Ann Arbor. I'm sure people will be mentioning election things while I'm there just trying to sell some of my books, because that is the liberal town. But God bless you guys, and I'll see you then.